life is not always going to afford you the ability to have Ziggy on your left, right? So when I train my employees, I tell them that there's dog training mode and there's dog handler mode. Okay. Do you have an idea of what the difference is?
I would say that the training and teaching part is going to be more control of the environment, and then maybe the handling is when training is not the priority.
Right, like you don't have the ability to control your environment, right? So, dog training is educating the dog. Okay, dog handler is when the handler is educated. So I know my setup, and I was going to tell you we have puppies on the when you come in, the puppies are on your left, so go ahead and move Ziggy to your right. But then I knew that we have Rudder right there, and we have dogs here, right? So I was like, you know what? Let me just take them. And then you offered the remote, and I go, no, don't need the remote. I'll just use what we have. Right, and handler mode. Okay. So I know when I came out, I was gonna have puppies here and a dog there. But the vicinity between this dog and Ziggy would be greater than here, right? So I move to my right, I come through, and then the way I moved through the space was to give me more control. That should this dog become reactive or Ziggy become reactive, I have a higher chance of being successful getting the situation contained, right? So if I'm walking down on the sidewalk and Ziggy's on our left and it's person, dog, dog, person, not gonna work out too well, right? And let's say you don't have, maybe there's a fence here. You don't have the capacity to step off to the side. Then I go, okay, move Ziggy to my right, shorten my leash in case there's a moment, if he lunges, he's not gonna reach the dog, and I can either put some pressure between him and the fence, right? So you're just handling the situation. The other thing is, I can make a dog that seemingly, or not seemingly, but that is untrained, look trained, because I know how to use these tools. I don't need to train the dog and teach him what to do. I know how to make it happen, okay? So, when you're working with Ziggy, you're thinking kind of the same thing. Like you're now educating Ziggy on what he's supposed to do, which is the heel. That was dog training last week, right? Until he knows this is what I do, heel needs to do this, and then we can walk past dog, blah, 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 right? But then, like, let's say he's super well trained, there's no reactivity, but then one day you turn the corner, there's a reactive dog, and they're blowing up, and their blow up causes Ziggy to blow up. Well, in that moment, it's not about training anymore. It's about handling the situation.
Right.
And then you can get to a different mode. You move on, and then you go back to your regular life, right? So, life's not going to be perfect. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So whenever I work with my, like this morning, Mr. Enrique here, my handler, you were charged by an off-leash dog, right? Yeah. There's a dog just down the street that can escape the yard or found a means to escape. That's happened like twice this week. Yeah. He charged them this morning, and you had your dog, Lola, right? Yeah. So he had his German Shepherd. He's charged by a white dog, and I've taught them, like, if you're confronted, just kick the dog, right? Which anybody else would be like, well, why would you kick the dog? Because you don't want to hurt the dog. I'm like, I don't, but I also don't want a dog fight, right? And I know, if I kick the dog away, maybe the dog yelps, but it's not going to, if there is any damage, it's not going to be to the degree that dog bites will create. Right? So that's like just controlling the situation because that's what life is. So I do what's same with my clients because they're training and I've been charged by off-leash dogs during training sessions. And it's the first thing I do is go into, back off the thread to control the situation, and then we can worry about our dog over here. Okay? So we're going to continue more with the dog training stuff because that's necessary. But then there's going to be a part of it where it's just me telling you, like, hey, when life throws you a lemon, this is how you're going to handle that situation. Okay, so go ahead and show me just real quick what you've been working on with a Ziggy here, and then I believe we may, because I can see he's distracted, right, which is good, gives us something to tighten up, and if I think it's going well enough, I may just bring out one of my guys and start kind of closing the proximity to push some reactive moments, and so you can see how to better handle it. Okay, and I'll have you just work right here. you would tap him, right? So when he sniffs, instead of using your leash, you want to use your remote. Okay? And forget your left arm zip. Okay, leave your left arm out of the walking. Good. Good. Good first.
I left my arm.
Yeah.
This is the hand.
I'll have you try one little walk around. Good. Go ahead and take a left turn here. Into Ziggy. Good. Relax left arm. Good. Much better. Go slow. Good stop. Good. So, you ever done training before? Prior to Ziggy? No. There's things that most people tend to do this naturally. But when you were walking, you were doing a lot of things that were correct, that were more training based. Okay? So when you were doing your pivots, meaning pivoting back this way, you were doing this. Your left leg going like that, which is correct. Okay? Because it gives the dog a heads up and lets him know what you're doing. And when you made your left turn, when I said turn to Ziggy, you actually led it with your right foot, which is also correct. Okay? Most people tend to lead it with your left leg. So if the dog is here and you're turning left, you're kind of shoving him out of the way or make that turn when really you want to lead it with your right. Okay? So all that stuff was correct. Were you aware of this?
No, I was.
No. Okay. So you're just walking.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that stuff.
Like whether or not you're going to be reactive.
Yeah, I was just trying, because we were making that left turn, we were going now towards.
Towards the dog, right?
Yeah.
Now, I didn't feel he was going to be reactive.
No, I didn't either. I
Yeah.
just, I think maybe causing some of his reactivity,
Yes.
minor.
Yeah. And it's more so just the anticipatory energy, right? Like, is he going to be reactive? Because what's happening is this. That left arm starts to tense up, right? Because once you lean this way, it tenses up here. Or like this. Okay? You always want to keep that relaxed. Because then you're already communicating tension. Okay? So, the reason why you want to remove that left hand and the healing process right here is because you're trying to do as much as possible for remote, right? So, even like your goal is leash walking, dog reactivity, dog socialization, right? But the techniques I use are off-leash techniques. And I always push them to degree, whether or not the owner, if they practice towards it, awesome. If they don't, then they don't, right? So like I have a client yesterday, I was like 8th class, and we went to the park, it was a nice day. And I was like, let the leash, we have a long leash, like let it drag on the ground, and safely, the dog right there, they touch that. And they're like, holy crap, like, he can walk like almost off leash. I was like, yeah. I was like, because the tool that we're using is off leash. So you've been doing this thing since day one, you just never pushed it to that degree, right? So the more you use the remote, the more you learn and understand what it means and what it's communicating, right? But if you're incorporating remote and leash, they're working in conjunction, which isn't a bad thing, but then the leash becomes part of that communication, and it becomes a necessary part of that communication. So useful, right? Yeah. The other thing is like here, he laid down, no big deal. I think we did this last time, right? Right, they tap him back on the side, yeah. Because he doesn't differentiate like, oh, you're letting me lay down as an exception because I'm tired, versus, oh, I'm a lunge partner as well. They're both decisions and impulses that he was allowed to do, right? So you always want to push your thoughts. That's good. What we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and just do the second half of heel, and then I'm going to bring up my dogs, and we'll start walking with some strategy. Okay? So Ziggy, take it off. Thank you. 41. And we're going to dip it down. So the fact earlier that seemed pretty, Good. So we're going to talk about the more nuanced part of heel parts. You guys better 130. So we're going to start with the pivots. Okay. So if you're walking with Ziggy and it's been like 30 minutes and he's doing great, he's on your hip, but then you decide to just turn this way, he's most likely not going to get it. It's a solo route. We have to communicate with him like this is what we're doing. And we do that through body language. Okay? So if we're doing these correctly, there should be no remote involved. Okay? Because he's going by what you're saying through your legs. Okay? So heel, so we say, oh, and the heel word. So I say heel first, and this actually is that back, that's up the head. We're going to heel first, we're going to start conditioning the left leg. So in more advanced training, the left leg means walk with me, right leg means no. Right? So I'm going to issue the word heel first, heel, and then move forward with my left leg. Okay? So dogs have a wide open parade to redo, so that becomes visual cue of as we're moving. The only time I say heel is when I go from stationary to motion. So if I'm already walking like I am right now, I'm not saying heel in the turn. A lot of trainers say heel in the turn. I don't. If he doesn't turn with me, I simply tap like I did right there, because I can feel him moving. Come to a stop, he stops with me, and a boy, heel, left leg, there we go. Tap, in. So once I cue the word heel, everything that we covered last week and everything that we're going to cover this week turns on. Okay? So imagine the heel word like clock can come in, and at that moment, it's Ziggy's job to walk next to you and sit when you stop. But technically, if you don't cue that word, he can do all this nonsense. Okay? So I think last week we talked about when you start moving, you tap. He starts walking with you, that turned it on, right? And then right turned it off. So heel, boom, yes. Break, off. So once we go, so if I hit a stoplight, turns green, he's sitting here, good, heel, we start walking again. Okay? So I find it easiest to cue the word first, and then I'll cue the left leg. You can technically do them simultaneously, but usually people get tangled up with having to think. Because if you're right-handed, we tend to move with our right leg, so then it becomes like kind of you get stuck up here, make mistakes. So that's that part, right? So that's easy. The next part is the pivots that I was mentioning earlier, and I was doing a bunch of them. So I issue the word heel, we're moving. What I want to do is extend that left leg and rock back on my right leg to cue him that I'm turning. So I slow down, I extend like this. Okay? Slow down, extend, back, good. On the top, to speed him up. Good. Have to speed him up. Good.
So that was like so slow that he thought I was going to sit.
Yeah, that can happen. So that happened there. Let's try it. Back at about 37 here. Everything. Yeah. But he's catching it at the end, right? Once he sees me, there we go. You know, he's just not used to this yet. But the more you utilize it, what we're teaching him is, whenever I slow and do this, it's not always going to be a stop. There may be a shift in direction. Okay? Good. Go after the sit. It's 35. And a boy. Now we're talking about the left turns. And you see how I don't say anything? I didn't cue him to sit, and I didn't put any pressure on the leash. So I'm trying to condition as much as possible through the remote control. Okay? Because if he happens to be off leash and we're needing this for something else, if he's not using it for that, he's not going to. Okay? So 35, heel. Now with the left turn, what we want to do is turn with that right leg. Like that. them up. Slow. Right, left, right. See, they're relaxed. Have to speed them up. I want to do a pivot. Good. I want to do a right turn. And I want to keep going right. Good. Good. Have to speed up. Good. Right, left, right. Good.
Keep walk. Normally trying to get on the training walks all before you last week. Walking is really more faster than exercise.
The slower pace, right? So, and when it comes to exercise, people typically think faster, right? It doesn't happen. Control. Because if typically walking with a dog is a dog like this, just scouting all over the place, right? There's no focus, and it's like they get stuck in this kind of adrenalized state that it means nothing. So what I do is this type of focus, and you can be going super slow. But yeah, the control of like I have to like really control my impulses and forget about the environment in order to focus on my handler. That doubles or triples the exercise. So for example, I had a client way back in the beginning of my career who used to run her black lab on her golf cart like, every day for an hour. And she said that the lab would be dragging the golf cart just the entire hour. And she's like, he's never tired. And I told her something's wrong because the lab's overweight. So like, there's no way an overweight lab is doing that. It means he's stuck here, okay? So he showed up, at that time I was doing remote, I was doing prong collar. So I taught him how to walk on a leash real quick, 5-10 minutes with the prong collar. We popped him onto the golf cart. Within 15 minutes, he was lagging, tongue hanging out, like I can't do this. Because now that we created focus, the brain wasn't stuck in stimulation. It was taking in like, man, I'm tired. And it's not like the greatest analogy, but the way I kind of explain to people is like when someone does a lot of like uppers for cocaine, when they're out for days, they're exhausted physically, but the drug is like overriding that physical exhaustion, that until that drug wears out, they don't feel it, right? Same thing for the dog. The dog gets stuck that way if there's no off switch, okay? That's why reactivity is such a common thing, because a lot of dogs are stuck in that on mode. No one's ever shut them down. No one's told them, like, no, like put a boundary or something, or made them walk with them. That's why when I see the activity, I don't just target it. I'm like, it's usually a cause of something else. Okay? So, questions about that? No? Make sense? Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one topic at a time. First, we're going to have you do the heels. Okay? So, typically how I have my clients practice this is you issue the word heel first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop, heel, 1, 2, and we're going to repeat that, right? So you're saying heel, then the left leg, you're only taking 5 to 6 steps, you'll come to a stop. He sits, heel, and repeat, right? Because you're building the muscle memory. The other thing to remember is, even though your intention right now is going to be to say heel and do those 5 steps, if Ziggy comes out of position, you still don't turn, correct him, and then reset. Okay? We tend to get so stuck on the exercise, and we tend to make a mistake, and you always want to correct it. Okay? Go ahead. Good. right? Sorry about that. She was picking up a training collar. All right, so go ahead, heel. Good. A couple more. Last one. Hey, Corey. Would you run Lexi out to go potty real quick? Because I'm going to use her for training. Yeah, already. Great. So now, I'm going to have you do the pivots. So heel, left leg. You always want to slow down a couple of steps. Extend. Back on the right. And just turn like that. Okay? Good. Heel. Good. Yep. Good. Good. Yep. One more. Excellent. Next one I'm going to do are the left turn, right? Walk, slow, and you're going to turn actually. If we use the square, what I do is a 90-degree cut, like this, and cut again. So if you're actually on the sidewalk, if you're trying to do a U-turn within the space of the sidewalk, if you hug to the right and cut like this, you can keep within the sidewalk, right? So the reason why we make it super sharp is a lot of people tend to do a soft right, and next thing you know, they're kicking their dog. Okay, so you want to make it very pronounced that if he sees it, he'll either stop or naturally start to curve with you. Okay, so in the beginning, to make this very easy, I do this, but when I walk, I really don't do this, right? But it's taking the mechanics down so that it becomes kind of like it's in your muscle memory, and then it's still pronounced, but it's not as dramatic. Okay, go for it. You. Good. Good. Try 3 more. Good. Okay, slow stop. So on a couple of those,
Yeah, that was true.
did you notice or you having trouble on a couple of them?
Yeah, I was having trouble. You know, I was thinking about the dog, and I felt like, you know, with his tempo picked up the dog. You know, I just before the dog was here, I mean, it was just he was like lagging, and it was easier to pivot because I was doing the lead. But then when he saw the dog, right, he was calling the shots on the turn.
Yeah, you got distracted, right?
Yeah.
So going back to earlier, right, when I said if you're doing the heel and you come to that stop, and Ziggy passes you over. Yeah, pivot, right?
Yeah.
Same thing there. So you were really focused on the left turn?
Boxing.
Yeah, so right there, and there was one here where I said pivot. We need to go back, and you try to push through with the left turn, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you lose Ziggy's attention, you always want to think,
The opposite.
boom, just like that, 2 remedies in problem. So you always want to get the control before you try to move forward with what you're intending, right? Because if he's not paying attention, it's like this, right? Like you're arguing. Whereas when you have his attention, it's very smooth. He's just following your lead, right? So think of Ziggy as a 3 to 4 year old child. Okay, that's his learning capacity. A 3 to 4 year old child, you must always know what to do. Go eat, go put up the clothes, go put up the toys, go dress, blah, 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 right? That most people, once they're training this stuff, they think, well, my dog is learning the skill and knows the skill. Why do I have to keep reinforcing it? Because they're like a 3 to 4 year old child, right? Like they're not capable of being proactive to that degree, like an adult, right? So if I see, like, even my business, right? If I see she's making a mistake, and either I have to do something body language wise, just make the remote, I do it. Like, I don't think, like, you know better, because she doesn't. All these things, they don't really understand, like we do. They just think, when you say sit, if I do this, I can avoid the remote. They don't understand that sit, by definition, means to place your rear end on the surface, right? So, whenever you're walking with Ziggy, if he's out of line, don't think it's anything, that's because you're taking skill.
But he's making a mistake.
Yes, you're just going, okay, mistake, I'm going to clarify. Okay? So, what we do get is over the course of time, is those corrections become less and less and less and less and less. Yes. Okay? So, going back to the left turn, right? When we're walking, we always want to slow down and then turn after the slowdown. Okay? So we're walking, turn again, I'm going to speed up. Slow, get the attention, and we turn. Okay. A lot of times people forget to slow down. It's super important, right? Going back to driving, slow before we stop, slow before we turn, right? So that's another thing. So if you're walking with Ziggy, and doing perfect, and then you think, I'm going to make a left turn here, and you slow down, and you keep going, then you go into production mode, right? So then you would turn again, and then make that left turn. Okay? So let's go ahead and try a couple more. Emphasizing the slow down before the left, before the right leg.
I'm going to just get some momentum going this way. Deal.
Good.
Deal.
Good. Very good. So try to speed up, dramatic slow down, left turn. Yep. Perfect. Perfect.
That one last turn, should I be directing him?
He's been running the speeder. Like here, he's a little bit, but he's still coming off. Like he's still giving you the space to finish the move there you want to do. And when you move it out, go ahead and come back this way. stop. So another thing that you can do is sometimes dogs will cut ahead and they'll be like this. Right? Yeah. So what we want to do here is actually turn into them with the right leg, right? So let's say if I come to a stop and the dog lands in front of me like this, traditionally heel is done. If you do that, you're going to kick your dog out this way to the right. So instead, when I say heel, I move my right leg so that it pushes them back to the left, right? So if you see Ziggy hugging in, when you turn into them, you want to move in with some oomph, right? Because what ends up happening is, you're telling them, if you get in the way, I'm going to just bulldoze through you. Okay? So it's not like a wham, but you're so that they know. And that makes them more aware of you. Because now it's you, it's not remote. The only time you remote is if the dog passes and we need to bring them back. Okay? With the turn, as long as you're communicating correctly, slowing down, and using the correct body language, there should be no need for the remote. Now, what can happen is like returns or reset or relax. Sometimes with the left turn, since we're turning into the dog, they'll space out a bit, like this. So then I'll tap to bring it closer. Okay? Otherwise, as long as you leave your turns correctly, there should be no need for a remote control. Okay? Question?
No, I think it makes sense.
Okay, perfect. So what happens if you look closer? Stop. Good. So right there, that stop was kind of abrupt, right? My stop. Your stop. Did you see where you went? Yeah. And he came back, right? So he's able to do that here because this is a more controlled context. But expect in real life that that's not going to happen. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start moving with Lex. And I want you to keep an eye on Ziggy. Okay, so your job right now is, let's say we're in the real world, and Ziggy is locking in. It's your job to de-escalate him. Okay, we don't ever want to go past the 1 to a 2. Okay, people tend to wait for, when it comes to reactivity, the explosion, the 10, right? Especially when we're using aversives, because it validates the aversive tool. So the person is thinking, okay, now you're being lungy and barky. Now I'm going to blast you with e-color. That's what I was doing. Yeah. That is forever. That will never get better. So the reason for that is, for Ziggy, you got to understand dogs relate things according to a dog bite. That's how they correct each other, right? This tool, maxed out, will never equate to a dog bite, right? Perfect. So we have to operate sooner. So the moment I start to see him log in, boom, right there, I'll make him get that worth it. And not if you get to blast him, you're still trying to find the number, right? But if he thinks, man, I can't even think about being reactive without this aversion happening, it's not worth it, okay? But if he's like, yeah, sure, I'll blow up, and I'll take the hit, because I get to do what I want, be like full-blown asshole, before the hit comes in, yeah, I'll do that. Exactly, right? It's just opportunistic behavior. So when we're moving, if you look at Zig here, right? Tap. Yep. There we go. Good. This I'm gonna leave alone. There. That's okay. You see the sniffing? Sniffing is social behavior. You never want to tap sniffing. Yes. Here. And tap. Good. So we're coming around, this is okay. But now he's not following at the turn, right? So the 2 times that we've tapped were because he was stalking, essentially. Okay. We're going to do one more, and then we're going to bring her on the inside, so we're going to be a little bit closer. Perfect, right? So now I'm going to bring Lexi on the inside. Yep.
No praise yet.
No praise. look at Ziggy's body language, right? What do you see?
Moving over, forward, leaning forward.
What else?
Forward.
What else? How's he breathing? He's panting. Yeah, it's the most. That's probably the most.
She's not sure what person is from.
Yeah, she's just whatever, right? So here, for Ziggy, that panting is either stressed or venting stressed. Okay. It's also part of relaxed state. Okay. So if we look at Ziggy, his ears are up. He's a little bit of an alert state. The eyes are relaxed. The mouth is open and panting. Right. There was a moment when Lexi came on the inside that he closed his mouth and he stopped panting. Okay, for two or three different instances. One instance was the first time. So the panting to closed mouth is tension. Okay, so if you are walking Ziggy and let's say you see someone passing, right, or someone with their dog, and you step aside and you shorten the leash and everything, you're looking at Ziggy and he's panting, and as the dog gets closer, his mouth closes. You're thinking maybe reactivity. Okay, so that closed mouth is the one. That's an escalating. So the second time we came around, so I brought Lex on the inside, he was panting, he closed his mouth, I passed around, he let it go, like, all right, that was brief. She came around again, he closed it, but then he closed it and started sniffing.
Was it closed?
Yes, but that's a different type of tension. Think of tension as there's something preoccupying the brain. There's like a thought, right? And the first one was kind of like, not too sure about this, right? And the second one became, oh, let me see what you're about. So the brain became preoccupied with sniffing, which then led to tension and closing the mouth. But it wasn't bad tension. It simply meant that just something was there, right? And then he let it go, he started panting again. I walked around, and then another time he closed his mouth, but he was sniffing again. And then right afterwards, I went back to panting, right? So this is like the most obvious way to tell or predict reactivity. Yeah, so if you're walking out with Ziggy and he's open mouth panting, he's in a relaxed state, right? And he might see something like a dog run across the field, and he'll still be panting, but he'll be in alert state, but he's still relaxed, right? So you're just watching for that tension. So if I have a really reactive dog and they see a dog a block away, already they're locked up and you can see them scouting, right? So right there we're addressing the reactivity because that's 1-2 with the remote. And all you do is you keep walking, right? So if you're a block away, we're not too worried about the stepping aside thing, right? But if you're trying to stop the locking in, because eventually if you're walking, let's say they're across the street and he locks up, then it starts to come this, right? But now they're crossing over you. So I just keep walking and tap. And he goes, okay, not allowed to look at that. And he goes back to relaxed state again, right? And you're just telling him, ignore that dog over there, okay? If we see he keeps crossing, we're either not high enough or we have to stop motion, okay? Because reactivity is an in-motion behavior.
So this is the movement.
Exactly, because you're already a step in the behavior, right? Because all he has to do is go from walking to lunging and barking. But if we're stepped aside, he has to go from this to this to this to this to this, right? Like it's boom, boom, boom,
Sort of
boom.
like reset it.
Exactly, right? So if I'm walking and I have a reactive dog, and they're looking at something across the street, and I can't tap them to let it go, I stop. And I'm addressing it like this until they let the dog pass, and they're not focused anymore, and then I worry about moving forward again.
But if you're sitting with her and you got her to sit, you're tapped a couple times and you don't, obviously you don't feel the tension anymore, they're looking, they're attentive, they're attending the dog still, but they're not showing those signs of tapping, stop, right?
Yes and no. So like let's say you see that like he's not tense, but he's still just scowling the entire time. You have to cap it at some degree because it goes from just watching to building tension again, right? So I go by the dog. Every dog is different. Some dogs they'll look around and like, okay, there's a dog and there's a dog and all right, whatever, right? And they just let things go and they go from topic to topic. Whereas a reactive dog tends to focus and lock on. And there's some dogs where you can't even give them a second of looking at a dog or they just blow up. They go 0 to 10 super fast, right? So I'll tell the owner, anytime their dog looks at a dog, just remote. Because you know where it's going to go, right? Until the dog learns to self-regulate. And what you'll see is when they see a dog, they'll just purposely look away from it. Because we've created avoidance behavior. I don't find Ziggy to be in that realm. He's more of the, something gets my attention, and then he like lets it go. Like right now, Lexi's right here. And he's looking over here, he's looking over there, he's looking over there. Like he's just taking in the environment. That's normal. It's the lock, most dogs will be staring. And then it blows up. And I tell the owner, you want to not stare. Okay? Questions?
No.
Let me go ahead and have you move with Ziggy just back and forth here. And I'm going to walk around with Lexi, okay? So he's conflicted. He's like, do I pay attention to dad or do I pay attention to the dog? Good. Yep. Hey, Ricky. Would you leash up brother and bring him down to this? Very good. Hold right there. Yep, perfect. Right. So if you watch Ziggy, like right there, he's half partially locking on, but still relaxed state. So it's like a bunch of like variables in play, right? Because you have alertness, you have tension, you have relaxation, fear, nervousness, anxiety. It's like a graph. And when I look at a dog, I'm seeing the graph of like all these different levels, and they balance each other out. So if he's more so in a relaxed state and partially in an alert state, I'm not really expecting anything to happen because there's more relaxation than anything else. Okay? So we're gonna bring another dog down. I'm gonna move a little bit further here, forward, just a couple steps. Good. There. Now we're gonna bring in a different dog, and I'm gonna have you walk to the outside. Good. Check. Up. Hold. Good. All right, pause for a second. What did you see from those taps?
We reacted. We got out to sit.
And what else?
He looked away.
What else? You may have not been able to see his tail. So if you look at his tail now, right? When he got up on that sit, his tail started moving, okay? That's stimulation. That was aspiration, right? So right there, once I saw all those things, I said, pull up. Because now we needed something in addition to the remote to help de-escalate faster. Okay? Because now we've created more energy. We have 2 dogs in play as opposed to 1 dog in play. Right? So whenever the environment is changing, your responsibility is Ziggy. Right? So it's being able to take in what your dog is communicating and then using your peripheral to see the environment. Right? Because if, like, let's say with that lady with the dog in the harness, and then you start like blocking and stuff, I would have been, no, like, please shorten your leash, go the other way, I'm training or whatever. You can be as polite as you like. But if she's just like going like this to you, Ziggy is reading that situation very differently. He's going, look at this dog pulling towards me. I know if that dog's a threat. And you know it's a neighbor, right? There is no threat. So, well, you know, like that's the assumption. Like, you know, we live in a community, right? Whereas in his world, the territory is your home. Anything outside of that is suspicious to a lot of dogs, right? So it's our job to then advocate. No, like, please shorten your leash, or, you know what, let me move out of here, especially if it's somebody that blatant, okay?
Well, and she, I don't think she control. Then she can't find the way to stop.
Sure.
But anyway, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, as much as possible, right? Because it's gonna happen. You're gonna get off leash dogs. You're gonna get dogs that don't, that aren't under control. That might be too big for the handler. You know, like I had a client who's 80, 90 pounds, 140-pound dog, but she was doing training. Okay? But there's some people that get these big dogs and they can't handle them, right? So the best you can, you want to control the situation, but most importantly, always watch what Ziggy's telling you, right? Because I can see everything else through here, and I want to watch this because if I miss something here, he just blows up, or I lost my chance, okay? So timing isn't a big deal unless you're missing opportunities repeatedly, okay? So we're going to try it again with Ryder. We're going to walk with him on the outside, and I'm going to have you just look at Ziggy as a whole, okay, to see if we see any change.
I'm saying,
Correct. Okay. Good. A little bit closer, Ricky. Yeah, they're sniffing, that's fine. Good. And then you're going to go a little bit out, and then you're going to bring them on the inside. Good. Yeah, more sniffing, that's good. And you see how his mouth closed again during the sniff? And hugging a little bit on the inside here. There we go. Good. Yeah. So, what is slow stop? What you're, how do you say, exposing them, right? Like, yeah, this stuff will be around you. Like, here's how he's kind of crossed over, he closes his mouth again there, gets up, yep, there he goes, repositions, he opens his mouth, he's back in a relaxed state. But the way he's carrying himself, right, just that posture as opposed to just like, look at that, she's just sitting there, right? Yes. So, that can just be unsureness, because the more dogs we had, the more kind of social pressure he feels. Okay, so that's better. Now he's sitting up a little bit, right? No better. It's okay. It happens. But because if you look at his posture, a bit more relaxed now, right? And if you look at Rudder's posture sitting, he's a bit more relaxed. He's a little bit concerned, just with the way he's moving his head and stuff. There you go. Good. That's much better. Right? Because the more you keep him in an uncomfortable context, he can only stay like that for so long before it becomes like, okay, this isn't such a big deal. I can actually handle this. Okay? Questions about this?
no, I mean, you said about it so fast.
It's okay. Yeah, it's not going to like screw him up and then you create a 5 more months of treatment. You're perfectly fine. Yeah, right? So there, yeah, give a tap there. Bump it a little bit. There you go. See how that tail starts to move? Because what's happening is, Miko, her crying is stimulating him. Okay? You can put him away. Thank you. And then if you would, grab Lex and give it to my brother. So, you're telling him, don't worry about that dog. Right? There you go. And it's not quite to the point, because you see how he keeps staring at Miko? So, you're trying to counter him. You're not quite there yet in terms of level. That's why he keeps staring. So when you're tapping him, since you're not there yet, he's kind of like pushing against it, and his tail starts to move in activation. So eventually, once you hit that number, it's going to be this. And we're not going to see that build up. Because that's what it was initially with Rudder. When he was coming around.
Yeah, I'm trying to intercept that. I mean, whatever it is that dog is
yeah, and it's a very like glowy green thing, okay? But it's more so getting you familiar. Yeah, that our dogs are constantly in communication with us. You know, most people's interpretation of a dog is if their tail is wagging, they're happy. Like that's about it. When no, tail wagging can also mean I'm going to bite you if you keep doing what you're doing, right? It all depends on if it's high, middle, low, the speed of it, and there's lots of variables, right? So now, when you're working with Ziggy, you're going to be more tuned in. You're going to recognize these things, and you're like, oh yeah, there's an open mouth and closed mouth that Jesse was talking about. Oh yeah, there's a closed mouth when he's smelling, and Jesse's going to have to tap that because that's curiosity, it's social behavior. I want to let that go, right? So, as you start to nitpick at these things, and you're like, how do you say, tuning them up of, no, I don't like that, yes, that's okay, you start to get a much more well-behaved dog. Enrique was bringing you Lexi just now. Yeah, put her away. So go ahead and put it somewhere, and then you'll grab Lexi and put her up. Questions about this?
no, I mean, it's a lot. You know, it's just reading.
Yeah. And like here, see how he's alert? Okay. I don't want you to think that this is bad. Right? This is, let's say, if we gave Ziggy this, right? And he always went to a lunch and bark in that state. Yes, then we know, okay, we gotta stop that, right? Because there's certain things that I deem like on the fence behavior, or even go either way, right? And if I notice, yeah, like have you ever seen dogs come up to each other and their tails are wagging, with their shoulder to shoulder, and they're kind of posturing, and sometimes they go into play, and sometimes they go into a fight. Like my Chihuahua does that. But most of the time, my Chihuahua goes into play, right? 9 out of 10 times, it's play. So I go, okay, the 10th time, I have to see what is a variable. And a lot of times it's the other dog is 2 tenths. Like, okay, I know to read when I see this, I have to take it the other dog because I know my Chihuahua will always go to play unless the dog's 2 tenths. Right? Yep. Yeah. Up. Yeah. There you go. And you see how that tapping went like this. Right? It created more energy. Yep. Yep. And so I'm going to have you go ahead and take a step forward. Step forward. And up. So whenever you do this, I want you to anchor yourself. Okay? So if I'll take it here real quick. If I have to remote Ziggy, right? And he goes back and I go back with him. You always want to keep anchored and bring him forward. Okay? Like this is a tap, tap, tap. So here, if he backs up, okay, I will bring him forward to where we were at. Because I don't want to build a habit of this every time you see something, right? Now, the nuance to this is if he was a really severe lunging and barking dog, I tell people, yes, let your dog step back in the beginning to make it easier for yourself to handle it. But if I get a dog that's like Ziggy, who can become reactive, and his reactivity, in my opinion, is like healthy reactivity. Otherwise, you'd still like this would be like really difficult, right? he just came in like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on. So this reactivity is to a healthy degree, because obviously there's a lot of commotion, right? That I start to push for more immediately. Where it's like, okay, I tap you, you back off, but I don't need you to back off. I want you to come forward and learn to just deal with what's going on here. So if I tap him, he shouldn't back away, he should just simply look away. Okay? Make sense? Questions? So your homework for this week.
I'm going to be, scheduled next week.
Sure.
So, yeah.
In 2 weeks, sure. For the next 2 weeks, your homework is start to incorporate the leg stuff, right? What I suggest in the beginning to get it built into your muscle memory is before you start walking, give this potty break. Do heel, stop, right? 5 times. Heel, left turn 5 times. Heel, about turns 5 times, and then do your walk. Just to help get it ingrained into your muscle memory. And then once you learn it, then you can just forget about it and just apply it during your walk. Because a lot of times people just will walk their dog, and then during the walk, what am I supposed to do again? So just getting used to it. So like now when I'm walking, if I see a corner and I have a bunch of dogs with me, like it's built into me to just time it. So when I'm turning left on that corner, it's not difficult. Okay? With the reactivity stuff, still stepping aside if possible. Okay? If you don't have that capacity to do so, moving him to the opposite leg, going stationary, shortening your leash so that if he does have a moment, he doesn't get far, and then really just kind of tuning in on what is his body language telling you, right? So if you're looking at Ziggy like this tells you everything. You can see the tail, you can see the hackles, you can see the ears, you can see the face, you can see the mouth, right? You're seeing everything, and what you can even do is also like this. If you take a step back, yeah, right? But what you don't want to do is kind of buy and block Ziggy. Okay, you don't want to try to block the Ziggies. You want them to learn to be able to see it and accept it and not become reactive. Okay? Anything else?
No, so I'm going to go through those drills, start with the heel, and then after the heel 5 times, turn left, turn left, and going back.
Right. Yeah. And just reps of 5, like 5, 5, 5, and then you just start your walk. Okay, so during those reps, you probably want to go like this little side walk, And then once you're done, right heel, we start walking. Okay? And then remember, when if he's not catching the turns, you're not slowing down, especially during the walk. Okay? So just keep that in mind. If you have any questions before the next time I see you, feel free to shoot me an email. Okay? Excellent. Good job. Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Couple weeks. And then if everything's going well, just think about what you'd like to cover for the next one. For the socialization stuff,